So this is a railway platform. You've got a sign, got benches. Only thing that you don't have is a railway line. And there hasn't been a railway line run through Aberlour for more than 50 years, but about 150 years ago, the Strathspey Railway, it would have been hugely influential in cementing Speyside's place as one of the top whisky producing regions of the world. So the Strathspey Railway opened in 1863. It ran from Dufton, often considered the malt whisky capital of the world, home to a lot of the big names, Glenfiddich, Balvenie, Glenlivet, and it ran through Aberlour on its way to Botegarten near Aviemore, south in the Cairngorms. And here you could connect up north to Inverness, or you could go south down to Edinburgh and Glasgow. In 1863, the railway expanded. It joined onto the Great North of Scotland line, and this connected Speyside to Aberdeen, and importantly the seaports in that area. Now this railway line, it would have been hugely influential to the location of where distilleries were opening up in the mid to late 1800s. So the aforementioned Glenfiddich, Balvenie, they opened up close to the line. Aberlour's own distillery opened in 1879. It's no more than 200 metres away from the station. Imperial in 1898, it used to have its own stop on the line. So important was the railway to the distilleries, they used to own their own steam engines called pugs, and these would be used to transport in the barley for making the wash, the coal for powering the stills, the casks to mature their whisky, and of course transport out the finished single malt to the blending houses, to the shops, and of course to the ports for export. These distilleries in the 1890s, they would have been working overtime because Scotland was experiencing its first serious whisky boom. So in the mid to late 1800s, French vineyards were struggling. The advancement of the steam engine, it made it a lot easier to import goods, but all France seemed to be importing was mildew and black rot and lice, things that were decimating the French vineyards. And it meant that aristocrats in the French and English societies, they could no longer drink brandy. So these wealthy, affluent individuals, they turned to drinking whisky, primarily blended whisky. And the whiskies they enjoyed were typically the lighter, fruitier, more mellow whiskies that Speyside is known for. Whisky was becoming a hugely profitable venture. In the 1890s alone, nearly 40 distilleries opened up in Scotland, and while the bubble did eventually burst for a variety of reasons, the popularity of whisky, and especially blended whisky, lives on. To this day, France is the largest importer of blended whisky by volume. And if you're watching this in France right now, the name Aberlour might have rang a bell when I mentioned it earlier. To this day, it's still routinely one of the best-selling single malts in the country. Sadly, the Strathspey Railway is no more. The last trains pulled out of Aberlour in the 1960s. The railway tracks were removed, and in their place now stands the Speyside Way, a long-distance trail which I'm walking along right now. But the legacy of the railway, it does still live on. It allowed whisky producers to capitalise on a popular market, to stamp their single malt and their style on the world. So the next time you're enjoying your favourite Speyside single malt, give a thought to the Strathspey Railway, give a thought to the men and women who built it and ran it. Without them, you may never have heard of your favourite distillery.